All right, I just found out we're a day away from the midterm.
No way.
It's right there on the
Is it on the
thing,
interweb?
the web, whatever that is. We've got midterm elections, and one thing you can see on the web and everywhere else, and on the streets where you live probably, is crime. It appears to be spiraling out of control across many parts of America. For instance, in Chicago, 37 people shot, 5 killed over the weekend in shootings. At least 9 people were wounded in a shooting in Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood. That was on Saturday night. In New York, a man was stabbed on a Bronx subway train after coming to the defense. Get this, he comes to the defense of a female passenger and he gets stabbed.
That's crazy. So how will crime factor into how people are voting tomorrow, or maybe how they have already voted? Let's bring in our panel to discuss. GOP strategist Ford O'Connell, the host of Money Talk with Melanie Collette, and former New York City Commissioner under Mayors Bloomberg and Giuliani, Brian Anderson. Brian, I'd like to start with you here. Bob just mentioned that another subway incident here in New York, but you know what? It's easy to talk about the crime right under our noses when we live in New York City, but this is something that is plaguing the entire country, Chicago, Philadelphia, and beyond. How important do you think this will be in turning some blue votes red?
Oh, it's going to be very effective, and I can't wait to see the results, because people are just fed up with this, and yet half of these people running for office are, you hear about election deniers. How about crime deniers? They're just pointing the fingers every which way except to take responsibility for things that is happening on their watch, and I think it's going to turn on them this time.
Yeah, crime deniers hasn't worked that well, because you can go back. I think Hochul was trying to do it in New York, and again, I hate when we get too New York-centric, Melanie. But the fact is the rate of crime went down when Giuliani came into power in the 90s. And then it was steadily falling. And then it stayed steady until we had the pandemic. And now things have gotten worse. Even Eric Adams as the mayor, who was supposedly as an ex-cop going to make things better, crime is up on most categories. So you can't deny it. People are experiencing it, and they may be voting on it too.
That is for sure. They certainly are voting on it. And of course, the New York Times tries to argue that elected officials can't do anything about crime and about police, and they certainly can do something about it. They can fire these woke leftist they're supposed to be prosecutors, but they're acting as defense attorneys. They can get rid of those people and put people in that will follow the law. They can, people are absolutely crime deniers. Hochul claims that those of us who are concerned about crime are data deniers. That is absolutely false. And not to mention, these people, when they get out of jail and commit crimes, they move around. They're moving around to the suburbs. It's starting to affect places besides the inner city. So everyone is concerned, and I'm sure people will be voting on that issue.
Yeah, and besides just those who are voting, those who are leading Ford, the crime has gotten so bad that Democrats are now turning on each other. Pennsylvania State Rep Almond Brown laid blame on Mayor Jim Kennedy, District Attorney Larry Krasner, and weak city council members, saying innocent women and children are dying every single day, and it's got to stop, and that legislators must work across party lines to solve the problem. Ford, that sounds like a pretty practical solution when we're talking about keeping our neighborhoods around the country safe, but it seems to be a polarizing issue. Why do you think that is?
Well, 27 of the top 30 cities with the highest murder rates in this country are controlled by Democrats, and the reason's very simple. Because over the years, they put in pro-criminal, anti-victim, soft-on-crime policies, and that's led to the heightened havoc. The problem is that Democrats still will refuse to repudiate these soft-on-crime policies. And to Melanie's point, this stuff spreads like cancer. Crime spreads like cancer. If it starts in New York City, it's going to make its way to the suburbs. It's only a matter of time, and unfortunately, the Democrats aren't looking at themselves in the mirror. And I believe that, honestly, if Kathy Hochul goes down in New York, Democrats still won't admit that they are weak on crime, and they'll try to pin it on Eric Adams because he's a former cop.
Yeah, what did Giuliani do, Brian, to bring this city more under control? And again, I want to use this because it can be a roadmap for other cities around the country that are experiencing, we've seen videos in San Francisco, people just rushing in, taking everything they want, all the shoplifting, all the stuff that's going on across the country. What worked? What did Giuliani do?
Well, it's exactly the same components that we see happening, is that we're not arresting people for the smaller crimes, the turnstile jumpers, for example, the squeegee men. When Bill Bratton came to town to interview for his police job, that's one of the things he saw that he needed to take care of. And once you start arresting people, and that's the key word, arresting people, keeping them, doing a search for, and you're going to find out that they're committing other crimes as well. So you've got to start somewhere, and everyone seems to be afraid of taking that first step. And they're being released as if nothing happened.
There's another example right there.
just
I don't know
watching
how
that.
you are down at the subway, but
I
I'm
literally
always
cling
keeping
on
mine.
to the center. I hold on. I really hold on.
I also get next to those poles.
Yes.
Because there are poles, because I figure nobody's going to be able to push it.
Right.
And the thing is, you never know. Like he came out of nowhere. I don't know if he looked at him some way that he didn't like. Who knows? That guy's just walking along, gets pushed off.
Or maybe just an easy target for.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. Stand by, panel, if you will. Coming up, Elon kicked comedian Kathy Griffin off of Twitter, but she might have a path back for a price. Elon's known to have a price for stuff, isn't he? All right.
That's
Stick
how he got
around.
to be a billionaire.